I've thought for some time that we don't fully understand the relationship between love and attention, and really how important attention is for love, and to what degree they are the same thing. So, I wanted to write a short fairy tale to try to elucidate my thoughts on this. Long ago, there was a prince who lived in a great castle. He had the whole world at his fingertips. He was free to go about the land and do anything he wanted. The women loved him, and he knew them as he pleased. He enjoyed the finest wines, the best meats, the most extravagant parties. All the time he searched for someone or something to fall in love with. Other people around him seemed to love their spouse so deeply, or they loved their craft of writing poetry or horsemanship. He wanted what they had, passion. But the world was gray to him. He enjoyed various games like chess and archery, but became bored of each in time. He tried to find a woman that he could love, but felt that they were all missing something. He tried to write poetry, but alas, nothing would catch, not like it did for other people. After exhausting everything in the land, he was lost and without hope. Finally, he brought his problem to his father, the king. His father told him that he must travel to the edge of the kingdom, 100 miles away, where he would find an old wizard that could help him. So the prince set off on his horse to find this ancient wizard with the hope that he could heal the prince's dulled heart. The prince had traveled 10 miles when he came upon a traveling merchant selling a wine the prince had never seen before. He bought all the merchant had and returned home to celebrate this new discovery. After partying for 3 days straight and drinking all the wine, he realized that it wasn't any different from the wine he'd always drunk. What a waste, he thought. So, sick and frustrated, he rode out on his horse again to find the wizard. He traveled 50 miles when he met a princess riding a horse the other way. Her beauty struck him immediately, and he asked her to marry him on the spot, something he had never done before. The brilliantly beautiful princess agreed, and they went straight to the prince's castle to be wed. It took days to return home, and by the time they arrived, the prince had become annoyed with the princess and realized that he didn't love her at all. He canceled the wedding and sent her away. In mourning of the prince's failed marriage, his servants held a party for him, and the prince got very drunk. The next day, he felt a renewed vigor and set off to finally reach the wizard at the edge of the kingdom. He rode out 99 miles to the bottom of the hill, atop which stood the wizard's tower, and there he saw the most spectacular flower he had ever seen. There was nothing else like it in the whole of the kingdom. He was struck right then with the idea of becoming a great gardener and studier of plants. He didn't need to see the wizard after all. So he collected a few of the flowers, making sure to secure their seeds, and rode promptly back home. Back at the castle, he showed anyone that would look the spectacular flower, and they were all amazed. Soon the flowers wilted and died, so he planted the seeds and departed to drinking and playing cards. A month later, he came back to the flower bed, and not a single seed had sprouted. The flowers, he concluded, would not sprout in this part of the kingdom, and his dreams of being a studier of plants were dashed, but nor were they even real in the first place. He was sad at his incredible succession of failures, but his father urged him to ride out to the wizard again. So the obedient prince listened, despite feeling little hope at this point. He rode fast and focused, stopping only for necessities. Finally, he arrived. The wizard's tower was tall and grand. It seemed almost to pierce the clouds. He knocked on the gargantuan wooden door, and it opened on its own. He climbed the steps. Up and up they went, Round and round they spiraled into the sky. They seemed to go on forever. After a day and night of climbing, the prince, exhausted beyond measure, arrived at the top of the tower. There on the roof, he found the wizard. The long-bearded man was standing still as a statue and staring directly at the sun with squinting eyes. The prince glanced up and was almost blinded in an instant. They were so high up in this tower. The wizard must be blind, he thought. Then the old man turned around and looked the young prince directly in the eye. The wizard asked the prince what he was doing there, and the prince told him. He told him that his eyes were pale and his heart was without vigor, that he could not find his passion, he could not find his purpose. The wizard understood and set about helping the young man. He picked up a stone from the floor and told the prince to look at it. The prince glanced at the stone and back up at the wizard, confused. It was just a regular stone after all. "Hold it," the wizard said, "and keep looking." The prince took the stone and looked at it carefully. He thought there must be something different about the stone he was meant to notice. But as far as he could tell, it was just a regular rock. Whenever he would stop looking and bother the wizard about what the hell he was supposed to be doing, the wizard just commanded him to keep staring at the stone. Eventually, the prince began to feel the subtle contours of the stone, its texture. He noticed its slight color gradients and wondered how it came to be like this. What part of the earth was it born from? And how did it come to be sitting at the top of this tower? How old was the stone? What was its structure? What would happen to it in the future? Where would it go? The stone's existence seemed to cascade outward beyond the horizon of the unknown. And at the same time, it announced itself to him with its here-ness and now-ness. It was there, in that moment, in his hand. A beautiful stone indeed. He set it down and began to look up at the sky, at the clouds and birds passing by. He peered down from the tower at the trees, the rolling hills, the cows, the castles. The whole world shone with real mysteriousness and mysterious realness. He turned to the wizard, who was again staring into the sun. "Thank you," the prince said. "You're welcome," said the wizard. The prince ran down the tower's spiral staircase with renewed vigor and eyes full of wonder. He jumped on his horse and rode back into the kingdom. After many days of travel, he approached the city which he called home, and at the sight of it was struck with love. He stopped on top of the hill overlooking the city, and did what he had done with the stone. He looked, he attended. As he did so, patient as a stone, it opened up to him. Despite its blemishes, it held great beauty and wonder in its walls, its houses, its temples, its people. Where did it come from? Where was it going? He realized then that as prince, his calling was here, to take on his father's role as steward when the time came. So he went to his father, the king, and bound himself to his side, to watch him in everything he did, to understand the job before him. And whenever he became disillusioned or hopeless, he would stop and look long, sometimes at nothing but a stone. That's it. The end.